Hello and welcome to The Broken Sword. Today we are breaking down episode 8 of the Rings of Power, Alloyed.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
We kick off the season finale with the stranger walking through Eärien, being the Elvish name for Greenwood the Great, later known as Mirkwood, the kingdom that we would know later on from Thranduil living there in the Hobbit story. Here he is finally caught up by the Mystics as he is struggling inside if he is a truly good or evil being. The Mystics claim here that he is in fact Lord Sauron, and they bow down to him. We cut then to Galadriel and an apparently unconscious Halbrand arriving in Eregion, with of course more slow motion riding shots. Celebrimbor and Elrond are talking about how even the sun once started as something that could fit in the palm of a hand. This is referencing the story of how the sun came to be in the Silmarillion, how the powers of the Valars Vada and Yavanna retrieved a single fiery fruit from one of the great trees of Valinor, Laurelin, the Golden Tree, before it completely died from Morgoth and Ungoliant's attack. This was then set in a vessel made by Aule, with it finally being set and guided in the sky by the Maya Eärien, who, interestingly enough, was a Maya of fire spirit that Malkor had not managed to corrupt like those that had been transformed into Balrogs. But anyway, they arrive after 6 days of riding with no rest, and he is healed by elven healers, and pretty fast too. Galadriel talks with Elrond about her choices, and Elrond says how he should have trusted her more, and he would from then on. We then get a completely healed Halbrand meet Celebrimbor in his forge, playing up to his ego, with a glimpse of the gems that would be set in the 3 elven rings here as well. Halbrand comes across Mithril too, planting the idea to alloy the Mithril to amplify its qualities. And you know Halbrand's response for his suggestions? He calls it a gift. On Numenor we see Pharazôn granting apprentices time with the king to make sketches for his future tomb, one of which is Eärien. When she is sketching Palantir, he wakes up thinking it is Miriel there next to him, warning her that they must go back to the old ways, in other words, respecting the Valar, not going against them. He then opens the door to the Palantir room at the top of the tower, to which Eärien goes up to, and obviously she looks into it, but we do not know what she sees, and it is also said here that in the background of these shots, the scrolls that are scattered all around in this tower are all elven, or influenced by them, having artifacts as well that date back to the First Age and the early heroes of the Edain, being the great ancestors of the Numenorians. Back in Eregion though, the High King Gil-galad has arrived as they talk about what they could do with this new power and what they could put it into. A scepter, a sword, and a crown are mentioned. Even Gil-galad thinks though that all this power that they talk of is too much for one person to hold. You can tell here that he is wiser in this moment to know the potential issues with such a solution. And he also seems worried that this low man came up with the idea to do this. Galadriel begins to grow weary of Celebrimbor's words here after he mentioned the key to unlock the dam, just like what happened in the Southlands. Celebrimbor seems unable to remember where his words were truly from though, and if they were truly his. A power of flesh that he says really does appear to worry her. She begins here to actually show the uneasy feeling towards Halbrand now that she should have probably had all along, but we will come back to that as well. From here, Elrond persuades Gil-galad to give them just 3 months to test this theory, which he agrees to in the end, all while holding Aeglos, Gil-galad's great spear that he took into many battles and one that struck fear into all of his enemies. The forge is then lit and Celebrimbor and Halbrand get to work. Galadriel goes to a lawmaster to ask him to search for the lineage of the Southland royalty. Her and Halbrand then talk about how Galadriel really saved Halbrand when he had all but given up. Everything he has become now is all thanks to her. But back with the Mystics, they are trying to break the veil that holds back this supposed Sauron's power. They reveal the stars that he has been looking at are called the Hermit's Hat, and it reveals that these can only truly be seen in Rhûn, so that is where he needs to go, with Rhûn being the furthest eastern part of Middle-earth, and this is where he must be to learn to control his powers. The stranger begins to show great power, but the Dweller puts him to sleep with some dust. Aware that the Harfoots are near though, the Dweller disguises herself as the stranger to lure them in. Sadok takes a knife to the gut and the others are nearly killed by fire until the actual stranger saves them after gaining the Dweller's Staff. Here he is called the Istar, being a Quenya word meaning wise one or wizard, but is obviously also a big hint to the Istari being the 5 wizards sent to combat the re-emergence of Sauron later on. They do say that he is not Sauron, he is the other, to back this up as well. Using the staff, he appears to send them into the realm of the unseen, with the unseen world being neither good nor evil, and it contains both dark and bright spiritual beings. They appear to get turned into moths as they are sent away, basically releasing them from their bodies. On the Numenorian ship now though, we have Miriel trying to learn her way around without her sight, and her and Elendil talk about their losses and how to be faithful means to do what is right, whatever the costs, whatever the price. Elendil does not just mean one who loves the stars after all, hinting his name is also linked to being an elf friend, one of the faithful. Arriving back in Numenor, there are black flags flying, signalling the death of the king. Does this have anything to do with Eärien and what she saw? Well, we aren't going to know that until next season now. Back in Eregion though, Celebrimbor is struggling to bond Mithril to anything, with us getting talk of the unseen world again here too. The unseen world is somewhere only the mighty, the beings like the Valar and the Maiar, as well as any elves who lived in Valinor could see. It is neither good nor evil like I said before, but it does usually get linked with the likes of the Nazgul. However, we could also think of the time when Frodo is stabbed by the Witch King that he can also see Glorfindel in that realm as well. It is basically somewhere these beings could also exist without a physical body. Halbrand has a solution again though, as the Lore Master comes to Galadriel with answers. She knows. She now realizes Halbrand is not who he says he is. He meets her outside saying they need to make 2 objects now to hold the power that they want, not just 1, and it must be something smaller than a crown. I wonder what that could be. Galadriel confronts Halbrand though about the line of the King of the Southlands being broken 1,000 years before. This is where we now get the big reveal. Halbrand is definitely Sauron. Galadriel has been played every step of the way by him. He has manipulated her and those around her to get what he has wanted. He tries to sway her to his side, to be his queen, but to no joy. In the dream type sequence Galadriel has, Halbrand's Sauron says how when Morgoth was defeated, it was like he was released and he could feel the light of the One again, meaning the light of Eru Ilúvatar, fainting that he may just come back to the side of goods. But Galadriel sees through this now, and she gets woken up by Elrond pulling her from the water, with Halbrand now long gone. She realizes she must stop the forging and so confronts Celebrimbor. Galadriel tells them that they cannot make the 2 as Halbrand suggested. It must now be 3 instead, to keep things balanced. To create these, Galadriel must melt her brother's blade down as it possesses gold and silver of Valinor, the strongest of these materials. Back with the stranger now, he can now speak properly as more of his thoughts and memories return to him, and he knows he must still go to Rhûn. Amazon confirm he is a wizard here, with it saying how there are many stories that have been told of the wizards, or Istari in later ages, but not all of them have yet been heard. So yes, he must be one of them. We get the big hint here as well that Poppy will become the next Wayfinder after Sadok, but also that Nori is going to go with the stranger, after being given the blessing by her family. She is part of something bigger now, as they say. Now we get a big hint of who the stranger is, with his delivery of the line, when Nori doesn't know where to go of, "There's a sweet smell on the air this way. When in doubt, Eleanor Brandyfoot, always follow your nose." Now if that does not say it is Gandalf, I don't know what does, delivering the same line that Gandalf does in the Fellowship of the Ring. Now of course it could just be a wizard thing to say, but it does also seem very on the nose as Gandalf. Of course, Gandalf is not supposed to arrive in Middle-earth until the Third Age, at the same time as Saruman and Radagast, so I at least will still hold some hope that this is indeed one of the blue wizards instead, which, if you would like to know more on them, we do have a video covering them. But anyway, back in Eregion, the blade is melted and the rings are forged. Elrond also discovers the scroll that reveals Halbrand is not who he says he was, and as he returns, he sees the rings are finished. The 3 rings for the elves. And finally, we end with a shot of Halbrand, Sauron, returning to Mordor. So there we have it, a breakdown of episode 8 of the Rings of Power, Alloyed. I will not go into an opinion in any depth here as we have another full season review coming out to cover that, but I will say that this was just a disappointing end to an underwhelming season. I had gone in at the beginning with much higher hopes, and with many of those hopes we have been let down. For example, we had hoped against hope that Halbrand was not Sauron, but in fact, yes he was. A Sauron that had had his life saved by Galadriel, and also saved hers as well. One that Galadriel could not even sense was evil until the very end. Someone who Galadriel did not suspect anything of until very late on. We also have 3 Elven rings forged, but no hint of any other rings of power that should have come before them. And we have a stranger who is very likely to be Gandalf now, although I do still cling to him being a blue wizard. However, with the way the story has been written, on the nose Gandalf seems much more likely. Either way though, they should have all arrived by ship no matter who it is, not a meteor. We didn't get any dwarves or Southlanders in this episode, which means they did miss out on the season finale, but I guess their stories were finished for now. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise for them. But really, that is all for this video today. Like I said though, stay tuned for a full season review video coming as soon with all our full thoughts and opinions. But I would love to know what all of you think at this time. If you're enjoying the content here, please hit that subscribe button, like the video, and leave us a comment of all of your thoughts on just this episode and as well with the entire season 2. Have you enjoyed it? Have you not? Where do you really sit on this show so far? And with that, thank you for spending just some of your time with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.